Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the next episode of my Python learning journey. Now that we've mastered if-else logic and how machines make decisions, today we'll explore how to handle repetitive tasks using loops in Python. In this video, we will cover the while loop, the for loop and the range function, the break and continue statements, and finally, the else statement inside loops. First, let's talk about the while loop. Similar to the if statement, a while loop evaluates a condition. If the condition is true, the code block inside will execute. However, the difference is that a while loop will keep repeating that code block as long as the condition remains true. Here I have an example. I have a variable I equals 1. My condition is while I less than 6. Inside the loop, I print I and then I use an increment operator I plus equals 1. Let's run it. As you can see, it prints numbers from 1 to 5 and stops when I become 6, because the condition is no longer satisfied. It's very important to change the variable inside the loop. If you forget to increment I, the condition will always be true, and you will fall into an infinite loop, which can crash your program. Take a look at this code. It runs normally at first, and your code editor might not detect an infinite loop as an error. However, because the variable in the condition never changes, it will just loop again, and again, and again, until your program crashes. Next, we have the for loop and the range function. While the while loop depends on a condition, the for loop is used to iterate over a sequence, like a list or a range of numbers. To use it with numbers, we often use the range function. The syntax is for x in range value. For example, for x in range 6. Note that range 6 generates 6 numbers starting from 0, so it goes from 0 to 5 but does not include 6. If I run this, it prints 0 through 5. You can also specify a starting point, like range 2, 6, which will print 2, 3, 4, and 5. The for loop is very powerful because it automatically handles the moving to the next item part for you. Now, let's look at the break and continue statements. These are used to control the flow of your loops even more precisely. The break statement is used to stop the loop immediately, even if the condition is still true. For example, in this for loop, I check if x equals 3. If it does, then we break. The loop stops entirely and jumps to the code outside the loop. As you can see in the result, when x reaches 3, the loop stops. Since there is no more code outside the statement, the program ends. On the other hand, the continue statement is different. It doesn't stop the loop, it just skips the current iteration and jumps to the next one. In this code, if x equals 3, then we continue. When x is 3, the print function is skipped, and Python immediately moves to x equals 4. So, the number 3 will not appear in the output. The last part of today's video is the else statement in loops. Did you know that you can use else with a loop? This is quite unique to Python. The else block in a loop will execute only when the loop has finished naturally. For example, in this for loop from 0 to 5, after it prints all the numbers, it will run the else block to print loop finished. However, there is a catch. If you stop the loop using a break statement, the else block will be skipped entirely. Here, because it breaks at x equals 1, the result is only the number 0. The else statement was not executed. Instead, it jumps out of the loop and executes the print function outside. It's like a reward for the loop. If you finish all your work without breaking, you get to run the else block. That's it for today. We've covered how to repeat code efficiently using while, for, and how to control them with break and continue. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe to join my coding journey. Drop a comment below if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy coding!